Hello, and welcome to English in Fluency, the place where we turn the mystery of the English language into something clear, natural, and easy for you to use. I am your host, Alex, and I am so happy you are here with me today. Have you ever felt like English is a giant puzzle where the pieces just do not seem to fit together? You learn thousands of vocabulary words. You study grammar rules until your head hurts. But when you try to speak or listen to a native speaker, it still feels difficult. You might wonder why simple sentences sound so fast, or why you get stuck trying to translate every single word in your head. Well, I have a secret for you. The secret is that English is not just about individual words. It is about patterns. It is about musical structures that repeat over and over again. Today, we are going to change the way you listen. We are not just going to study. We are going to learn to notice these hidden patterns that native speakers use every single day without thinking. By the end of this session, you will be able to hear a structure and immediately know what it means, and more importantly, you will be ready to use it yourself. So, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and get ready to unlock your fluency. If you enjoy improving your English with us, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a lesson that could change your life. Let's imagine for a moment that learning English is like learning to cook. If you only learn the names of the ingredients, like flour, sugar, and eggs, you cannot make a cake. You need the recipe. You need to know which ingredients go together and in what order. In English, these recipes are called sentence patterns or structures. When you focus on these patterns instead of single words, your brain can process information much faster. You stop translating and start understanding. Today, we are going to listen to a series of stories about everyday life, full of specific patterns that are perfect for B1 level learners like you. I want you to just listen first. Do not worry if you miss a word here or there. Just try to catch the general feeling and the flow of the sentences. Our first story introduces us to a man named Leo. Leo has just moved to a busy city from a very quiet, small village. Listen carefully to how he describes his new life, and notice specifically how he talks about the changes he is experiencing. Leo sits at his small kitchen table, looking out the window at the busy street below. He sips his coffee and thinks about how different everything is. He tells his friend that living in the city is exciting, but it is also exhausting. He says that in the village, he was used to waking up to the sound of birds singing. It was peaceful and slow. But here in the city, the noise never stops. He admits that he is not used to the sound of traffic at night yet. It keeps him awake sometimes. However, he is determined. He tells his friend that he is slowly getting used to the fast pace of life. He is getting used to taking the subway to work, even though it is crowded. Leo knows that with time, all these strange new things will become normal. Did you notice a repeating phrase in Leo's story? He used a very special pattern that confuses many students, but it is incredibly common in spoken English. That pattern involves the words used to. Let's break it down because understanding this will make your English sound much more natural. Leo said he was used to waking up to birds. This means it was normal for him in the past. It was a habit or a state that was familiar. The structure here is the verb to be plus used to plus a noun, or a verb ending in ing. For example, you can say, I am used to the cold weather. This means the cold weather does not bother you because it is familiar. Now, compare that to when Leo said he is getting used to the subway. This is a dynamic pattern. It means the process is happening right now. He is in the middle of adapting. It was strange before, but it is becoming normal now. So, we have I am used to, which means it is already normal, and I am getting used to, which means it is becoming normal. I want you to try this with me. Imagine you have a new job, and you have to wake up very early, at 5 in the morning. At first, it is terrible. You are tired. But after a month, it is not a problem anymore. How would you describe that transition? You would say, at first, I wasn't used to waking up early, but now I am getting used to it. Can you hear the rhythm? I am getting used to it. Try saying that out loud wherever you are. I am getting used to it. This pattern is so powerful because it allows you to describe adaptation and change without using complex explanations. You simply use the pattern. Let's move on to another very common situation. We often find ourselves in situations where we have to make a difficult choice or give advice to a friend. This brings us to our second story, featuring a woman named Maya. Maya is a university student who is very stressed about her upcoming exams. She is talking to her older brother, trying to decide what to do about her summer holidays. Listen closely to the way her brother gives her advice. Maya is pacing around the living room, holding a textbook. She tells her brother that she wants to travel this summer, but she also needs to save money for next semester. She feels stuck. Her brother looks at her kindly and says, Maya, if I were you, I would save the money. I know you want to travel, but if you saved the money now, you wouldn't have to work so hard during the school year. He continues by saying, if I had free time, I would help you find a summer job, but I am too busy right now. Maya nods, understanding that his advice is practical. She realizes that if she took a trip now, she might regret it later. This story is a perfect example of the second conditional. This is a grammar term that sounds scary, but the pattern is actually quite simple and incredibly useful for listening and speaking. The pattern is usually if I plus the past tense verb, followed by I would. We use this to talk about imaginary situations or hypothetical advice. Did you hear Maya's brother say, if I were you, I would save the money? He is not Maya, so this is impossible. It is imaginary. That is why we use this special structure. In standard English, we often change was to where when we talk about these imaginary things, so we say, if I were you instead of if I was you, although you might hear both in casual conversation. Let's practice this pattern because noticing it will help you understand when people are hypothesizing rather than stating facts. Think about a situation where you see someone buying a very expensive car that they do not need. You might think in your head, if I were rich, I would buy a big house instead. Notice the structure. If I were rich, past tense form, I would buy, would plus the base verb. It is a formula. Once you know the formula, you can plug in any vocabulary you want. If I had a superpower, I would fly. If I lived in Italy, I would eat pasta every day. Listen for this, I would sound. Often, native speakers shorten it to I'd. So it sounds like, if I were you, I'd save the money. That small sound, I'd, represents the word would. Catching that small sound is the key to B1 listening mastery. Now, let's shift our focus to expressing preferences. We all have things we like and things we do not like, but how do we say that politely and naturally? Let's listen to a story about Sam and his colleague Elena, who are trying to decide where to go for lunch. This is a very common daily conversation. Sam and Elena are standing outside their office building. It is a sunny day. Sam suggests they go to the new burger place down the street. Elena makes a face and shakes her head. She says, "Honestly, Sam, I would rather eat something light today. I would prefer to go to the salad bar." Sam laughs and says, "I would rather have a burger, but I am happy to go with you." Elena smiles and replies, "Great. I would much rather sit outside than inside, so let's find a place with a patio." In this short dialogue, we heard two very distinct patterns for choices: would rather and would prefer. These are excellent for making your English sound polite and sophisticated. Let's look at the first one, would rather. Elena said, "I would rather eat something light." Notice that after would rather, we use the base form of the verb without to. We do not say, "I would rather to eat." We say, "I would rather eat." It flows together quickly. I'd rather eat. On the other hand, when she used prefer, the pattern changed slightly. She said, "I would prefer to go to the salad bar." With would prefer, we usually use to before the verb. So, the difference is small but important for your listening accuracy. Would rather go. Would prefer to go. I want you to imagine you are at a cinema with a friend. Your friend wants to see a horror movie, but you are scared of them. You want to see a comedy. How do you say this using the pattern we just learned? You could say, "I would rather watch a comedy." Or you could say, "I would prefer to watch a comedy." Both are perfect, but listen to the rhythm. I'd rather watch. I'd prefer to watch. Try to repeat that in your mind. Focus on the feeling of preference. It is much softer than saying, "I want this." It shows you are making a choice. Let's deepen our practice with another story, this time focusing on a pattern used to describe experiences. This is one of the most essential structures in English conversation. We are going to meet a traveler named Sophia. Sophia is sitting in a hostel common room, talking to other travelers from around the world. Listen for how she asks questions about their lives and shares her own stories. Sophia looks at a map on the wall and asks the group, "Have you ever been to South America?" A young man nods and says, "Yes, I have been to Peru twice. It was amazing." Sophia smiles and says, "I have never visited Peru, but I have seen pictures of Machu Picchu." She continues, "I have always wanted to go there." Then she asks another person, "Have you eaten dinner yet?" We are thinking of going out. Here, we are dealing with the present perfect tense, specifically using have you ever and I have never. This pattern connects the past to the present. When Sophia asks, "Have you ever been to South America?" she is not asking about a specific time, like yesterday or last year. She is asking about your entire life experience up until this moment. The pattern is have plus the subject plus the past participle. Have you been? Have you eaten? Have you seen? When you are listening to native speakers, you will often hear the word have contracted or shortened. It might sound like I've been to Peru, or even softer, almost disappearing. I've seen pictures. You need to train your ears to catch that slight V sound. That V tells you they are talking about an experience, not a specific past event. Let's practice noticing this distinction. If I say, "I went to Paris in 2010, that is a finished time. It is a history fact. But if I say, "I have been to Paris," I am telling you that I possess that experience now. It is part of who I am. Imagine you are at a job interview. The interviewer asks, "Have you ever used this software?" You want to answer using the pattern. You say, yes, I have used it many times, or no, I have never used it, but I learn quickly. The pattern is I have used or I have never used. This structure is your best friend when getting to know new people because it opens up conversation topics without needing specific dates or times. Now, let's combine some of these patterns into a slightly more complex story. This will challenge your listening skills a bit more. We are going to follow a character named Ben, who is trying to fix his car. Ben is not a mechanic, so he is finding the situation quite frustrating. As you listen, try to identify the patterns we have discussed, like used to or conditionals, and see if you can spot a new pattern involving the word easy or difficult. Ben is standing in his driveway, looking at the open hood of his car. His hands are covered in oil. His neighbor walks by and asks if he needs help. Ben sighs and says, I find it really hard to understand these modern engines. When I was younger, I used to fix my own car all the time, but these new ones are complicated. If I had the right tools, I might be able to do it, but I don't. The neighbor laughs and says, I know what you mean. It takes a long time to learn how these computer systems work. I find it easier to just take it to the shop. Ben nods and agrees, saying, Yeah, I think it is time to call a professional. Did you catch the patterns there? Ben used a great phrase. I find it really hard to understand. This is a wonderful pattern for expressing your opinion about an activity. The structure is subject plus find plus, it plus adjective plus to infinitive. I find it hard to understand. You can use this for anything. I find it easy to learn English. I find it exciting to travel. I find it relaxing to cook. It is a very natural way to explain your feelings about a task. Instead of saying, I think English is easy, saying I find it easy to learn English sounds much more personal and descriptive. Also, notice the neighbor's reply. He said, it takes a long time to learn. This is the pattern for talking about duration. It takes plus time plus to infinitive. If you want to ask someone about their commute, you can ask, how long does it take to get to work? The answer follows the pattern. It takes me 30 minutes to get there. It takes 10 years to become a doctor. This pattern is everywhere. Next time you watch a movie or listen to a podcast, try to count how many times you hear it takes. You will be surprised. It is the standard way to discuss the passage of time required for an action. I want to give you another scenario, one that involves making future plans. This is crucial for organizing your life in English. Let's meet a couple, Sarah and Mike, who are planning a dinner party. Listen to how they talk about their arrangements. Sarah is looking at her calendar. She says, Mike, we are running out of time. By the time the guests arrive, I will have finished cooking, but I won't have cleaned the living room. Mike replies, Don't worry, I will help you. I promise I will clean the room before they get here. Sarah looks relieved. She says, Okay, great. So, by 7 o'clock, we will have done everything. This story introduces a slightly advanced aspect of B1 listening, the future perfect. Sarah says, By the time the guests arrive, I will have finished. This pattern is used to talk about an action that will be complete before a specific moment in the future. The structure is will have plus past participle. It sounds complex, but the meaning is simple. Looking back from the future. Imagine it is 8 p.m. tonight. What will you have done by then? Maybe you can say, by 8 p.m., I will have finished listening to this podcast. Or, by next year, I will have improved my English. Listen for the combination of will and have together. They often blend into I'll have finished, I'll have done. It is a very satisfying tense because it focuses on completion and achievement. Let's go back to something a bit more emotional. We often need to describe how we feel about things that happened in the past, specifically regrets, or things we wish were different. Let's listen to Tom, who is talking about his childhood. Tom is looking at an old photograph of himself holding a guitar. He looks a bit sad. He tells his friend, "I wish I had practiced more when I was a kid. If I had practiced, I could play well now." His friend asks, "Do you still play?" Tom shakes his head. "No, I stopped years ago. I should have kept taking lessons. It is a pity." Tom is using two powerful patterns here for expressing regret. The first is, "I wish I had." Notice the double past feeling. He is talking about the past, so he goes back even further in grammar. "I wish I had practiced." This means he did not practice, and he feels sorry about it. The second pattern is should have. He says, "I should have kept taking lessons." This is used when we know the right action to take, but we did not do it. Should have is often pronounced very quickly, sounding like should have or even shoulda. "I shoulda called you." "I shoulda studied harder." Recognizing this sound, shoulda, is a major milestone in listening fluency. It transforms a confusing noise into a clear grammatical meaning. A regret about a past action. Let's begin by looking at how we act like detectives in our daily lives. We often have to guess about things we are not 100% sure about. We look for evidence and make a conclusion. To illustrate this, let's follow a character named Oliver. Oliver arrives home one evening and sees a package on his doorstep. It has no name on it. Listen to his internal monologue as he tries to figure out what it is. Oliver picks up the box. It is heavy. He shakes it gently. He thinks, "This must be the books I ordered. It is heavy like books." But then he looks at the label and sees it is from a clothing store. He thinks, "No, it can't be the books. The books are from a different company. It might be the winter coat my wife ordered." He touches the box again. It feels solid. He thinks, "It could be a kitchen appliance." He decides to open it. Inside, he finds a heavy ceramic vase. He laughs and says, "Ah, it must be a gift from my mother. She loves sending us pottery." Oliver just used a set of patterns called modals of deduction. These are small words that indicate how sure we are about something. Did you hear him say, "It must be"? When he said it must be the books, he was 90% sure. He had strong evidence, the weight. This is a very common pattern. Subject plus, must be plus noun or adjective. If you see your friend yawning and rubbing their eyes, you say, "You must be tired." You are almost certain. But notice what happened when Oliver saw the label. He changed his mind. He said, "It can't be the books." This is the opposite of must be. It means you are 90% sure it is impossible. It can't be. Many students want to say, "It mustn't be." But in this context of guessing, we say, "It can't be." Then Oliver was less sure. He said, "It might be the winter coat," or "It could be a kitchen appliance." Might and could are patterns for when you are only 50% sure. It is a possibility, but you don't have enough proof. Let's practice this right now. Imagine your phone rings, but the number is hidden. You don't know who it is. What do you say? You might say, "It might be my boss," or "It could be a spam call." But if it is ringing at 3 a.m., you might say, It must be an emergency. Try to feel the difference in certainty. Must be is strong. Might be is weak. Can't be is impossible. Mastering these three small words allows you to speculate about the world just like a native speaker. Now, let's shift our attention to a pattern that is all about getting things done. Specifically, getting other people to do things for you. This is called the causative, and it is often a nightmare for students because the grammar looks strange, but the logic is simple. Let's meet a character named Sarah, who is preparing for her wedding day. She has a long list of tasks, but she is not doing them herself. Listen to how she describes her day to her bridesmaid. Sarah is sitting in a salon chair. She says, "I am so busy today. First, I had my hair cut by the stylist. Then, I had my dress altered because it was too long. This afternoon, I am going to have my nails done." Her friend asks, "Are you washing your car?" Sarah laughs, "No, I am having it washed at the station. I don't have time to do it myself." The pattern here is remarkably consistent. Have plus the object plus the past participle. Sarah did not say, "I cut my hair." If she said, "I cut my hair," it means she took scissors and did it herself. Instead, she said, "I had my hair cut." She arranged for someone else to do it. This structure, have something done, is crucial for sounding natural when talking about services. Think about your car. Do you fix it? No, usually you have it fixed. Think about your house. Do you paint it? Maybe, but if you pay a professional, you have it painted. Let's try a quick visualization. Imagine your roof is leaking. You call a worker. He comes and fixes it. Later, a friend asks, "What did you do today?" You don't say, "I fixed my roof," because that is a lie. You say, "I had my roof fixed." Try to say that. I had my roof fixed. Now imagine you want to clean your carpet, but you hire a cleaner. You say, "I am going to have my carpet cleaned." It gives you a sense of authority. You are the manager of your life, delegating tasks. Listening for this structure helps you understand who is actually doing the work in a story. Moving on, let's look at how we agree with people. In conversation, we want to build connections. When someone shares an opinion, we want to show that we feel the same way. There is a very fast rhythmic pattern for this involving the words so and neither. Let's listen to two friends, Liam and Emma, chatting in a coffee shop. Liam takes a sip of his dark coffee and says, "I love this place. The atmosphere is so cozy." Emma smiles and says, "So do I. It is my favorite spot." Liam continues, "I have been coming here for years." Emma nods and replies, "So have I." Then Liam's face gets serious. He says, "But I don't like the new music they are playing. It is too loud." Emma frowns and agrees, "Neither do I. It is annoying." Liam adds, "I can't study when it is this loud." Emma says, "Neither can I." Did you notice how quickly they agreed? They didn't say, "Me too," every time. "Me too" is fine, but it can sound a bit repetitive and basic. The pattern Liam and Emma used is dynamic. It changes based on the verb the first person used. Liam said, "I love this place," present simple. Emma replied, "So do I." She used the helper verb do. Then Liam said, "I have been coming here," present perfect. Emma replied, "So have I." She used the helper verb have. This is the secret code. You have to listen to the helper verb in the first sentence and repeat it. When the sentence is negative, we switch from so to neither. Liam said, "I don't like the music." Emma replied, "Neither do I." Liam said, "I can't study." Emma replied, "Neither can I." This pattern, neither plus helper verb plus I, is the standard way to agree with a negative statement. Let's practice. If I say to you, I am happy today, you would say, so am I. If I say, I will go to the party, you say, so will I. Now, if I say, I don't eat meat, you say, neither do I. If I say, I haven't seen that movie, you say, neither have I. It is like a game of tennis. You hit the ball back using the same spin. Developing this reflex takes time, but once you have it, your conversations will flow much faster. Let's explore another story, this time focusing on a pattern used for reporting what other people have said. This is called reported speech. We use this constantly to gossip, to share news, or to tell stories. We are going to listen to a conversation between a teenager named Jack and his mother. Jack has just come home from a parent-teacher meeting at school. His mother is anxious to know what the teacher said. Listen to how Jack reports the information. Jack throws his bag on the floor. His mother asks, "Well, what did Mr. Henderson say?" Jack sighs. He says, "Mr. Henderson said that I was doing well in history. He told me that I needed to study more for math, though. He said that he had noticed I was tired in class." Jack pauses, and he asked if I was getting enough sleep. Jack is transforming the teacher's original words into the past. This is the key pattern of reported speech: backshifting. If the teacher says, "You are doing well," present, Jack reports it as, "He said I was doing well," past. If the teacher says, "You need to study," present, Jack reports it as, "He told me I needed to study," past. It is as if the act of reporting moves the logic one step back in time. Also, notice the difference between said and told. Jack used both. He said that I was doing well. He told me that I needed to study. The pattern is tell plus person. You tell someone, but you just say something. You cannot say, "He said me." You must say, "He told me," or just, "He said." Another interesting part was the question. The teacher originally asked, "Are you getting enough sleep?" When Jack reports this yes-no question, he uses the word if. He asked if I was getting enough sleep. This is a very common structure. She asked if I was hungry. They asked if I wanted to come. Listen for that little if. It signals that a question was asked in the past. So, imagine your friend invites you to a party. You tell your partner later. You say, "She asked if I wanted to go to the party." You don't say, "She asked, do I want to go?" You smooth it out into a statement using if. Now, let's move to a pattern that deals with conditions and boundaries. We often have to set limits or warn people about consequences. There is a powerful word for this: unless. Unless means if, not, or except if. Let's listen to a strict manager, Mrs. Higgins, talking to her employee, Mark. Mrs. Higgins is standing by Mark's desk with a file. She looks serious. She says, "Mark, you cannot leave early today unless you finish this report." Mark looks worried. He says, "I know, but I have a dentist appointment." Mrs. Higgins replies, "I understand, but unless you finish it, the client will be angry. You won't get the bonus unless the client is happy." The pattern here is unless plus a present tense condition. Unless you finish. It sounds much stronger and more elegant than saying, "If you don't finish." Compare them. If you don't finish, you can't leave versus you can't leave unless you finish. Unless puts the focus on the requirement. It is the condition that must be met. Think of it as a locked door. The key is the action after unless. Unless you have a ticket, you cannot enter. The ticket is the key. Unless you study, you won't pass. Studying is the key. I want you to try to rephrase some negative ideas in your head. Instead of thinking, "I won't improve if I don't practice," try thinking, I won't improve unless I practice. It shifts your mindset to the necessary action. We can't eat if we don't cook becomes we can't eat unless we cook. It is a very direct and professional way to speak. Listening for unless helps you identify the crucial conditions in a negotiation or an agreement. Let's introduce one more pattern for this session, one that helps us check for agreement and keep a conversation going. These are called tag questions. They are those little questions at the end of a sentence. Let's follow two elderly neighbors, Arthur and Martha, chatting over their garden fence. It is a beautiful day. Arthur leans on his rake and says, "It is a lovely day, isn't it?" Martha smiles and replies, "Yes, it is beautiful. The flowers are blooming early this year, aren't they?" Arthur nods. "They certainly are. You haven't seen my cat, have you?" Martha shakes her head. "No, I haven't. But he is usually home by now, isn't he?" Tag questions are like musical hooks. They pull the other person into the conversation. The pattern is to take the helper verb from the sentence and reverse it at the end. It is lovely, positive. So the tag is, isn't it? Negative. The flowers are blooming, positive. So the tag is, aren't they? Negative. If the sentence is negative, the tag is positive. You haven't seen my cat. Negative. So the tag is, have you? Positive. But here is the real secret to listening to tag questions. The intonation. If the speaker's voice goes down at the end, it's a nice day, isn't it? They are not really asking question. They know you agree. They are just making conversation. But if their voice goes up, you haven't seen my cat, have you? Then it is a real question. They truly do not know the answer. As a listener, catching that rise or fall in the voice tells you if the person is just being friendly or if they actually need information. We are going to start by looking at how we describe people and things without using short, choppy sentences. Often, learners will say, "I have a friend. He lives in London. He is a doctor." This is correct, but it sounds a bit robotic. Native speakers combine these ideas using relative clauses. To see how this works, let's meet a character named Ethan. Ethan is at a crowded party, trying to find a specific person. Listen to how he describes the people in the room to his companion. Ethan points across the room and says, "Do you see the woman who is wearing the red dress? She is the one who helped me get my job." His friend looks and asks, "Is she the one standing next to the tall man?" Ethan nods. "Yes. And the man who is holding the blue cup is her husband. He is the architect that designed the new library." Ethan is using the words who and that to glue sentences together. Instead of saying, "Do you see the woman? She is wearing a red dress," he says, "Do you see the woman who is wearing a red dress?" This small word, who, acts like a bridge. It connects the person to the description. We use who for people. The woman who helped me. The man who is holding the cup. When we talk about things, we often use that or which. Ethan mentioned the library that the architect designed. Let's practice this pattern because it is essential for fluency. Imagine you lost your phone. You go to the lost and found office. You don't just say, "I lost a phone." You need to be specific. You say, "I lost the phone that has a blue case," or "I am looking for the bag that I left on the bus." Try to combine two thoughts in your head right now. Think about your best friend. Think about one fact about them. Now, combine them. My best friend is the person who always makes me laugh. My house is the place that makes me feel safe. This pattern allows you to be specific and descriptive in a single breath. Now, let it turn our attention to a very special pattern that changes the camera angle of a sentence. Usually, we focus on the person doing the action. John ate the apple. But sometimes, the person isn't important. Sometimes, we want to focus on the object. This is called the passive voice. To understand this, let's visit a high-end art gallery and listen to a tour guide named Chloe. Chloe is leading a group of tourists through a beautiful room filled with paintings. She speaks softly but clearly. She says, "This painting was painted in 1890. It was discovered in an attic only 10 years ago. Before that, it was hidden for decades. The frame is made of pure gold." The tourists look amazed. One asks, "Who painted it?" Chloe smiles and says, "It is believed to be the work of a student of Van Gogh, but the exact artist is unknown." Notice how Chloe speaks. She doesn't say, "A student painted this in 1890. She says, "This painting was painted." The painting is the star of the show, not the painter. The pattern here is the verb to be plus the past participle. Was painted, was discovered, is made. We use this constantly when we talk about history, news, or processes where the actor is obvious or unknown. For example, if you are watching the news, you might hear, "The bank was robbed yesterday." We don't know who did it, so we focus on the bank. Let's apply this to a process we all know. Making coffee. We can say, first, the beans are ground. Then, the water is boiled. Finally, the coffee is poured into a cup. Notice how professional that sounds? It describes the process, not the person. If you said, "First, I grind the beans. Then, I boil the water," it sounds like a personal story. But, "The beans are ground" sounds like a universal fact. Next time you are reading a label on a product, look for this pattern. Made in China. That is a passive phrase. It means it was made in China. Sold separately. It means it is sold separately. Being able to switch between the active voice, "John ate the apple," and the passive voice, "The apple was eaten," gives you total control over your storytelling. Now, let's explore how to connect ideas that are opposites. Life is full of contrasts. We want to do one thing, but we have to do another. We feel tired, but we keep going. To express this, we need contrast connectors. Let's listen to a story about a dedicated runner named Daniel. Daniel is training for a marathon. It is a rainy, cold morning. His alarm goes off. Daniel talks to himself in the mirror. He says, "Although it is raining, I am going to run. I am tired. However, I need to train. Despite the bad weather, I will finish my 10 kilometers." He ties his shoes. He thinks, "I really want to stay in bed." Even though the bed is warm, the feeling of finishing the run is better. Daniel used 4 amazing patterns here. Although, however, despite, and even though. They all mean roughly the same thing, but the grammar is slightly different. Let's look at although and even though. These are followed by a full sentence, subject plus verb. Although it is raining. Even though the bed is warm. These are great for starting a sentence. Now look at despite. This is usually followed by a noun or an ing verb. Despite the bad weather. We do not say, "Despite it is raining." We say, "Despite the rain." This is a common mistake, so listen carefully for it. Finally, however. This usually comes in the middle or at the start of a new sentence, followed by a comma. I am tired. However, I need to train. Let's try a mental exercise. Think about a food you like that isn't healthy. Maybe pizza. How can you describe this conflict? You could say, "Although pizza is unhealthy, I love it." Or you could say, I know pizza is bad for me. However, it tastes delicious. Or you could say, despite the calories, I am going to eat a slice. These connectors make you sound intelligent and nuanced. They show that you can hold two opposing thoughts in your head at the same time. Let's move on to a pattern that confuses almost everyone at some point. The difference between stopping to do something and stopping doing something. It sounds like a riddle, doesn't it? Let's meet a character named Mr. Sato, who is a retired teacher giving advice to his grandson. They are walking in a park. Mr. Sato stops walking to tie his shoe. He says, "Wait a moment. I need to stop to tie my shoe." He ties it and stands up. Then he looks at his grandson and says, "You know, you should really stop looking at your phone so much. You are missing the beautiful trees." His grandson laughs and puts the phone away. Mr. Sato smiles. He says, "I remember climbing that tree when I was a boy. Did you remember to bring the water bottle?" This story is full of gerunds versus infinitives. Let's break it down. When Mr. Sato said, "stop to tie," it means he paused his action, walking, in order to do a new action, tying. He stopped in order to tie. But when he said, "stop looking," it means to quit the action completely, to finish it. If you stop smoking, you don't smoke anymore. If you stop to smoke, you pause your work to have a cigarette. The meaning is totally different. The same logic applies to remember. Mr. Sato said, "I remember climbing." He is looking back at a memory. The action happened in the past. Remember plus ing refers to a memory. I remember going to Paris. I remember meeting you. But then he asked, "Did you remember to bring the water?" This is about a task or a duty. You must not forget to do it. Remember plus to refers to a task. Remember to lock the door. Remember to call your mother. Let's test this. Imagine you are driving. You see a beautiful view. You pull the car over. Did you stop driving, or did you stop to look at the view? You stopped the car, quit driving, in order to look. So you stopped driving to look at the view. It is subtle, but native speakers use this distinction to be very precise about their actions. We are now going to explore a new horizon, the future, but not just any future. We are going to look at the future continuous. This is a beautiful tense used to describe actions that will be in progress at a specific time. Let's listen to a conversation between two friends, Kevin and Lisa, who are planning a weekend trip. Kevin is looking at the train schedule. He says, "If we leave at noon, we will be arriving in Paris just as the sun is setting." Lisa smiles and replies, "That sounds lovely. This time tomorrow, we will be sitting in a cafe, drinking hot chocolate." Kevin laughs. He adds, "And we won't be worrying about work at all. We will be relaxing completely." Notice the pattern. Will be plus the verb ending in ing. Will be arriving. Will be sitting. Will be relaxing. This isn't about a finished action. It is about painting a picture of a moment in the future. Kevin didn't say, "We will arrive." He said, "We will be arriving." He wants Lisa to imagine the process, the feeling of the train pulling into the station. It makes the future feel real and vivid. I want you to close your eyes for a second. Imagine it is 8 p.m. tonight. What will you be doing? Will you be eating dinner? Will you be watching a movie? Will you be sleeping? Say it in your head. At 8 p.m., I will be. This structure is excellent for making plans and sounding optimistic. Let's switch to a very sophisticated communication skill, being polite with indirect questions. Sometimes asking a direct question like, "Where is the bathroom?" or What time is it? Can sound a little bit rude or too abrupt, especially with strangers. We soften these questions by adding a phrase at the beginning. Let's listen to a tourist named Maria, who is lost in a big museum. She approaches a security guard. She doesn't just ask, "Where is the exit?" Instead, she asks, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the exit is?" The guard smiles and points. Later, she wants to know the time. She asks another visitor, "Do you know what time the museum closes?" Finally, she is looking for the gift shop. She asks, "I was wondering if you could help me find the shop." The pattern here is fascinating. When we add a phrase like, "Could you tell me?" or "Do you know?" the grammar of the real question changes. In a direct question, we switch the verb and subject. Where is the exit? But in an indirect question, we switch it back to normal sentence order. Could you tell me where the exit is? Not, where is the exit? It is subtle. What time is it? Becomes, do you know what time it is? This small change makes you sound incredibly polite and fluent. It shows you have control over the language. Next time you need to ask for help, try starting with, "I was wondering," or "Do you happen to know?" It works like magic to get people to help you. Finally, let's tackle one of the most complex but rewarding structures in English, the third conditional. This is used to talk about the past and imagine a different result. It is the language of what if regarding history. Let's listen to a story about a musician named Eric who missed a big opportunity. Eric is sitting with his guitar, looking a bit sad. He tells his friend, "You know, if I had woken up earlier that day, I wouldn't have missed the audition." His friend asks, "Really?" Eric nods. "Yes. If I had taken the bus instead of the train, I would have arrived on time. And if I had arrived on time, they might have hired me. But I was late, so I lost the chance." This pattern is heavy. It uses "if I had" plus past participle, followed by "I would have" plus past participle. If I had woken, I would have arrived. It is a mouthful, but think of it as a formula for regrets or lucky escapes. If I hadn't met you, I would have been lonely. If it hadn't rained, we would have gone to the beach. It is purely hypothetical because the past is finished. We cannot change it. But talking about it helps us process our feelings. Listen for the contraction I'd have. It sounds like, "If I'd 'a' known." I would 'a' gone. Native speakers smash these words together. If I'd known, I would have come. Mastering this rhythm is the final boss of B1 listening. It proves you can handle complex timelines and emotions in English. Now that we have mastered those complex timelines, let's bring our focus back to the present moment, specifically how we compare things. Life is full of comparisons. We are constantly measuring one thing against another. Is this car faster than that one? Is this movie as good as the book? To explore this, let's listen to a lively debate between two siblings, Noah and Chloe, who are shopping for a new laptop. Noah picks up a sleek silver laptop. He says, "This one is much faster than my old one. It is also lighter." Chloe looks at the price tag and shakes her head. She says, "Yes, but it is far more expensive than the black one." Noah argues, "But the black one isn't as powerful as the silver one. The silver one is the best in the store." Chloe sighs. She says, "Look, the more money we spend, the less we will have for software. We need something that is good enough, not the most expensive." Noah thinks for a moment and admits, "You are right. This middle one is slightly heavier, but it is just as fast as the expensive one. Let's get this one." In this story, we heard several layers of comparison. First, the standard comparative. Faster than, lighter than. We add to short adjectives. But Noah also said far more expensive. For longer adjectives, we use more and less. The special pattern here to notice is as. Noah said, it isn't as powerful as the silver one. This means they are not equal. But later he said, it is just as fast as the expensive one. This means they are equal. As fast as good as tall as. This pattern is crucial for showing equality. We also heard a very sophisticated pattern called the double comparative. Chloe said, the more money we spend, the less we will have. This structure, the more, the less, or the more, is used to show cause and effect. The more you practice, the better you get. The harder you work, the more tired you feel. It is a beautiful, rhythmic way to explain consequences. Try to create one in your mind right now. Think about your English study. The more I listen, the more I understand. Can you feel how professional that sounds? Let's shift from comparing things to talking about feelings, specifically the difference between how we feel and what causes that feeling. This is the classic battle between adjectives ending in ed and adjectives ending in ing. Let's meet a character named Lucas, who is watching a movie with his girlfriend, Eva. Lucas is yawning. He whispers, I am so bored. This movie is really boring. Eva looks at him and says, really? I think it is fascinating. I am completely fascinated by the story. Lucas replies, well, I am annoyed by the acting. It is so annoying when they whisper. Eva shushes him. She says, I am shocked that you don't like it. The ending is supposed to be shocking. This distinction is vital for B1 learners. Adjectives ending in ed describe a feeling inside a person. I am bored. I am interested. I am tired. Adjectives ending in ing describe the thing that causes the feeling. The movie is boring. The book is interesting. The work is tiring. A common mistake is to say, I am very boring. If you say that, you are saying that you are a boring person and nobody likes you. You mean to say, I am bored. Listen for the source of the feeling. If it comes from inside, use ed. If it comes from outside, use ing. Now, let's look at a pattern that helps us express purpose. Why do we do things? We need to link our actions to our goals. We are going to listen to a dedicated gardener named Rose. Rose is working in her greenhouse. She tells her neighbor, I am planting these seeds now so that they will bloom in spring. I built this glass roof in order to protect them from the frost. Her neighbor asks, why do you water them so often? Rose replies, I water them to keep the soil moist. I also talk to them so that they grow faster. I don't know if it works, but I do it to make myself happy. Rose uses 3 ways to say why. The simplest is just to plus the verb. I water them to keep the soil moist. This is very common. But she also used in order to, which is a bit more formal and emphatic. In order to protect them. Finally, she used so that. Notice that after so that, we usually have a full clause with a subject and a modal verb like can or will, so that they will bloom, so that they grow. If you want to explain your motivation, these are your tools. I am learning English to get a better job. I am listening to this podcast so that I can improve my fluency. Let's move on to a pattern involving quantity and limits. We often need to say if we have the right amount of something, or if there is a problem with the amount. Let's follow a young baker named Sophie who is trying a new recipe. Sophie looks at her bowl of dough. She says, oh no, I put too much flour in. It is too dry. She tries to add milk. She says, "Now there is too much liquid. It is sticky." She looks for sugar. She says, "I don't have enough sugar. There are too many eggs in the fridge, but not enough sugar." She sighs. She says, "This kitchen isn't big enough for me. I have too many bowls on the table." Sophie is struggling, but her grammar is perfect. She uses too much for uncountable nouns. Too much flour, too much liquid. She uses too many for countable nouns. Too many eggs, too many bowls. And she uses enough to mean sufficient. Notice the position of enough. It comes before a noun, enough sugar, but after an adjective, big enough. This is a tricky little pattern. We don't say enough big. We say big enough. Is the car fast enough? Are you warm enough? But, do you have enough money? Do we have enough time? Train your ear to hear where enough lands in the sentence. Now, let's explore a pattern used to give strong advice or talk about obligation. This involves the words must, have to, and should. Let's listen to a coach giving a pep talk to his football team before a big game. The coach stands in the locker room. He says, "Listen up, team. You have to play hard today. The other team is strong. You must listen to the captain. If he calls a play, you must follow it. You don't have to be perfect, but you should try your best. You shouldn't argue with the referee. Remember, to win the championship, we have to win this game." The coach is navigating different levels of necessity. Have to and must are very similar. They both mean it is mandatory. You have to play hard. You must listen. However, notice the negative form. You don't have to be perfect. This does not mean you must not be perfect. It means it is not necessary. You can be perfect if you want, but it is not a rule. This is a huge difference. You mustn't touch the ball with your hands. It is forbidden. You don't have to run fast. It is not necessary. And then we have should, which is for advice. You should try your best. It is a good idea, but not a law. Listening for don't have to versus mustn't will save you from many misunderstandings about rules and permissions. Let's practice this with a visualization. Imagine you are at a museum. The sign says, "No flash photography." You tell your friend, "We mustn't use flash." Forbidden. Then you see the gift shop. You say, "We don't have to buy anything, but we can look." Not necessary. Then you see a long line. You say, "We should come back later." Advice. These modals are the traffic lights of English conversation. Now, let's look at how we talk about things that are generally true or scientific facts. This is often called the zero conditional. It is the simplest conditional because it is about reality, not imagination. Let's listen to a science teacher, Mrs. Clark, explaining water to her class. She says, "If you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils. If you freeze water, it turns to ice. When it rains, the ground gets wet. If you mix blue and yellow, you get green." These are facts. Notice the pattern. If plus present simple, followed by present simple. If you heat, it boils. No will, no would. Just simple facts. We often replace if with when in these sentences. When the sun sets, it gets dark. This pattern is used for instructions, rules, and general truths. If I press this button, the computer turns on. If you are listening to this podcast, you are learning English. It is a cause and effect relationship that is always true. Let's switch to a more personal pattern. Reflexive pronouns. These are words like myself, yourself, himself. We use them when the subject and the object are the same person. Let's meet a character named Tom, who is going on a solo camping trip. Tom packs his bag. He tells his mother, "Don't worry, I can look after myself. I bought myself a new tent. I plan to enjoy myself by the lake. I might even talk to myself if I get lonely." His mother laughs. She says, "Just don't hurt yourself." Tom replies, "I will behave myself." Tom is the subject of his own sentences. I look after myself. I bought myself. I enjoy myself. This "enjoy myself" is a very common English phrase. We don't usually say, "I plan to enjoy." We say, "I plan to enjoy myself." It means to have a good time. Also, notice the phrase "by myself." This means alone. I am going by myself. It is the same as saying on my own. Listening for these self words helps you understand who is doing what to whom. Now, let's combine some of these ideas into a story about a busy office manager named Karen. Karen is organizing a conference. She is using verb patterns with make, let, and allow. These are causative verbs that deal with permission and force. Karen is on the phone. She says, "The boss made me change the date. He wouldn't let me choose the venue. I am not allowed to book the expensive hotel. It is so frustrating." I tried to make him understand, but he just let the phone ring. I need to get my assistant to help me. Notice the grammar changes with these verbs. Make someone do something. Base verb. The boss made me change. Not to change. Just change. Let someone do something. He wouldn't let me choose. Again, base verb. But look at allowed. I am not allowed to book. With allow, we use to. And with get, we also use to. Get my assistant to help. This is a tricky area. Make do. Let do. Allowed to do. Get to do. Let's repeat that mantra. Make do. Let do. Allow to do. Get to do. Memorizing this rhythm will help you sound accurate when complaining about rules or giving instructions. Let's move to a pattern that helps us describe the precise time something happens in relation to something else. We are talking about time clauses with words like as soon as, until, while, and whenever. Let's listen to a story about a spy named Agent X on a mission. Agent X is hiding in a car. He speaks into his radio. He says, "I will wait here until the target arrives. As soon as he steps out of the car, I will take the photo. While I am taking the photo, you keep the engine running. Whenever he looks this way, duck down." The partner asks, "When do we leave?" Agent X replies, "We leave the moment I have the package." These time words act like triggers. Until means up to that point. As soon as means immediately after. While means at the same time. Whenever means any time it happens. Notice the tense. Agent X refers to the future, but he uses the present tense after the time word. As soon as he steps out, present, I will take future. He doesn't say, as soon as he will step out. This is a golden rule of English. Never use will after a time word like when, before, after, until, or as soon as, if you are talking about the future. I will call you when I arrive, not when I will arrive. I will wait until you finish, not until you will finish. Let's practice this. Think about your evening plans. I will cook dinner when I get home. I will watch TV after I eat. I won't sleep until I am tired. As soon as this podcast ends, I will practice speaking. Feel how the first verb is future, will, and the second is present. That is the heartbeat of future time clauses. Now let's look at a pattern for making suggestions. We often want to propose ideas to our friends or colleagues. We don't want to command them. We want to suggest. Let's listen to a group of friends, Mia, Ben, and Sarah, trying to decide what to do on a Friday night. Mia says, "Why don't we go to the cinema?" Ben shakes his head. No, I'm tired. Sarah says, how about ordering pizza and playing games? Mia says, what about going for a walk? Ben says, let's just stay here and talk. Sarah says, shall we vote on it? Here we have 5 different ways to suggest. Why don't we go base verb? How about ordering ing verb? What about going ing verb? Let's stay base verb. Shall we vote? Base verb. Notice that how about and what about are the only ones followed by the ing form. This is a very common mistake. Students often say, how about go? No, it must be, how about going? How about eating? What about watching? But why don't we go? Let's go. Shall we go? If you master this small distinction, your social English will become much smoother. Let's introduce a pattern that deals with uncertainty and precaution. The phrase is in case. We use this when we do something now because something might happen later. Let's follow a cautious traveler named Henry, packing his suitcase. Henry puts a raincoat in his bag. His wife asks, why are you packing that? It is summer. Henry says, I am taking it in case it rains. He packs a flashlight. He says, this is in case the power goes out. He writes down the hotel address on a piece of paper. He says, this is in case my phone dies. His wife smiles. She says, you should pack some chocolate in case you get hungry. In case is different from if. If means we will do the action only if the event happens. I will buy an umbrella if it rains. I will wait for the rain, then buy. In case means we do the action now, just to be safe. I will buy an umbrella in case it rains. I buy it now, before the rain. This is a subtle but important logic. Take a key in case I am out. Save this file in case the computer crashes. It is the language of preparation. Now, let's bring a lot of these new patterns together into a story about a family reunion. This will feature comparisons, quantifiers, and suggestions. The family is gathering in a large garden. Uncle Bob says, this year's party is bigger than last year's. There are far more people. Aunt Linda looks at the food table. She says, we have too much pasta, but not enough drinks. How about someone goes to the store? Cousin Joey says, I will go. I'll take the car so that I can carry everything. Uncle Bob says, drive carefully. The faster you drive, the more dangerous it is. Joey replies, don't worry, I can take care of myself. I will buy extra ice in case it gets hot. Aunt Linda adds, and get some chips. The kids are bored by the healthy food. They want something crunchier. In this scene, the patterns are flowing naturally. Bigger than, far more. Too much, not enough. How about, so that. The faster, the more. Myself. In case. Bored. It is a symphony of B1 grammar. By listening to this context, you understand that Joey isn't just buying ice. He is preparing for a possibility. In case. You understand that the kids aren't boring. They are feeling boredom. Bored. You understand the relationship between speed and danger. The faster, the more. Let's take a moment to focus on prepositions of movement. These are small words that describe direction. Into, out of, through, across, along, past. Let's listen to a commentary on a bank robbery chase in a movie. The narrator describes the action. The thief runs out of the bank. He jumps into his car. He drives along the river. He drives through the tunnel. He goes past the police station. He runs across the bridge. He climbs over the wall. He crawls under the fence. Finally, he runs towards the forest. These prepositions create a dynamic map in your head. Into implies entering a space. Out of implies leaving. Through implies entering one side and coming out the other. like a tunnel or a forest. Across implies going from one side to the other of a flat surface, like a street or a bridge. Along implies following a line, like a river or a road. Past means going near something and continuing. Visualizing these movements helps you choose the right word. If you walk in the room, you are there. If you walk into the room, you are moving. Let's look at one final advanced pattern for this section: the neither, nor, and either, or structures. These are paired conjunctions used to link two negative or two positive choices. Let's listen to a picky eater named Simon at a restaurant. The waiter asks, "Would you like the fish or the chicken?" Simon says, "I want neither the fish nor the chicken. I am vegetarian." The waiter says, "Okay, you can have either the salad or the pasta." Simon thinks. He says, "I will have the pasta. And for a drink, you can have either water or juice." Simon says, "I want neither. I want coffee." Neither nor links two negative ideas. It basically means not this one and not that one. Neither fish nor chicken. Notice the verb is usually singular if the subjects are singular. Either or offers a choice. Either salad or pasta. One of them, not both. This is very useful for negotiation and decision-making. We can either go now or stay later. He is neither tall nor short. It is a very precise way to speak. Now, I want to challenge you. I am going to give you a situation, and I want you to think of the pattern. Situation 1. You are preparing for a hike. You pack a map because maybe you will get lost. What pattern do you use? In case. I am packing a map in case I get lost. Situation 2. You are comparing two phones. One costs $100. The other costs $100. They are the same price. What pattern? As. This phone is as expensive as that one. Situation 3. You are telling your friend not to drive fast because it increases the danger. What pattern? The faster you drive, the more dangerous it is. Situation 4. You are describing a movie that makes you sleep. Is the movie bored or boring? It is boring. By actively recalling these patterns, you are cementing them in your long-term memory. You are moving from passive recognition to active production. We have covered so much ground in this second part of our journey. We have explored the nuances of comparison, the logic of purpose, the obligation of modals, and the precision of time clauses. We have learned to differentiate between feelings-ed and causes-ing. We have practiced the reflexive myself and the cautionary in case. These are the bricks and mortar of the English language. When you start to notice them in your daily listening, in songs, in movies, in conversations, you will realize that fluency is not magic. It is just a collection of these patterns used over and over again. We are now entering the final stretch of our master class. We have built a solid structure of grammar and patterns. Now, we are going to decorate that structure. We are going to learn the subtle arts of English, how to be vague, how to emphasize, and how to tell a story that captivates an audience. Let's start with vague language. Sometimes, being too precise sounds robotic or demanding. Native speakers often use words like kind of, sort of, stuff, and things to sound relaxed and friendly. Let's listen to a conversation between two friends, Tom and Jerry, cleaning a garage. Tom picks up a strange tool. He asks, "What is this?" Jerry shrugs. He says, "It is sort of a wrench, but it has this weird thingy on the end. It is used for fixing bikes and stuff like that." Tom says, "And this box?" Jerry says, "Oh, just put it over there somewhere. It has old papers and things. It is kind of heavy, so be careful." Jerry is using vague language perfectly. Sort of and kind of soften his descriptions. He isn't 100% sure, or he doesn't want to be strict. Thingy is a great word when you forget the name of an object. Stuff like that, and things group items together loosely. If you say, I like reading books, magazines, and newspapers, it is a list. If you say, I like reading books and stuff like that, it sounds more casual. It invites the other person to understand the category without listing everything. Now, let's look at cleft sentences for emphasis. This is when we cut a sentence in half to highlight one specific part. The pattern is usually it is X, that action. Let's look at a detective solving a crime. Detective Holmes looks at the suspects. He says, I know what happened. It was the butler who stole the diamond. The maid didn't do it. It was the garden that he hid it in. It was yesterday that he sold it. Normal sentence, the butler stole the diamond. Cleft sentence, it was the butler who stole the diamond. See the difference? The cleft sentence puts a spotlight on the butler. It screams, him, not anyone else. You can use this to correct people. If someone says, you live in Paris, right? You can say, no, it is London that I live in. Or simply, no, it is London. This pattern adds drama and clarity to your speech. Let's combine everything we have learned, from Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3, into one final massive story. This story is about a young woman named Clara who moves to a lighthouse on a remote island. This story contains used to, conditionals, passives, reported speech, relative clauses, future continuous, comparisons, and modals. Listen closely. This is your final exam. Clara stood on the deck of the ferry. The wind was blowing through her hair. She looked at the island that was getting closer. She felt a mix of excitement and fear. She thought, if I hadn't taken this job, I would be sitting in a boring office right now. She used to work in a bank in the city, but she was bored by the routine. She wanted a life that was more adventurous. When she arrived, the old lighthouse keeper, Mr. Arris, met her. He told her that the lighthouse had been built in 1850. He said that it was the oldest building on the island. He warned her, you must keep the light burning. Unless you keep the light on, ships might crash. He added, the stairs are steep, so be careful not to hurt yourself. The first week was hard. Clara wasn't used to the silence. She found it difficult to sleep because it was so quiet. She missed the noise of the city. However, as soon as she saw the first storm, she fell in love with the ocean. The waves were bigger than anything she had ever seen. She realized that the more she watched the sea, the calmer she felt. One night, a terrible storm hit. The wind was howling. Suddenly, the light went out. Clara knew she had to fix it. She ran up the stairs. She thought, I must be quick. She found the mechanism. It was jammed. She tried to pull it, but it was stuck. She remembered Mr. Arris saying, if it gets stuck, you should use the oil. She found the oil can that was on the shelf. She poured the oil into the gears. She pushed the lever. Nothing happened. She pushed harder. Despite her fear, she kept trying. Finally, the light turned on. What a relief. The next morning, Mr. Arris called. He asked if everything was okay. Clara told him that the light had gone out, but she had fixed it. Mr. Arris said, you are brave. It was you who saved the ships last night. Clara smiled. She looked out at the ocean. She thought, by next year, I will have become a real lighthouse keeper. I will be living here comfortably. I might even stay forever. She realized she would rather be here alone than be in the crowded city with too many people. She had finally found the peace that she had been looking for. Did you hear it all? The used to, past habit. The if I hadn't taken, third conditional. The had been built, passive, past perfect. The unless, condition. The bigger than, comparison. The so that, purpose. The will have become, future, perfect. This story is a tapestry of English grammar. Clara's journey is your journey. You started with uncertainty, you faced the challenge of complex patterns, and now you have the light of understanding. Improving your listening is not about translating every word. It is about relaxing into the flow. It is about hearing, if I were, and waiting for the would. It is about hearing, it takes, and waiting for the time. It is about hearing, the more, and waiting for the less. When you predict the pattern, you win the game. Thank you, truly, for spending this time with me. We have covered over 10,000 words of spoken English practice today. That is a book's worth of listening. You should be incredibly proud of yourself. Keep this channel in your ears. Listen to it while you cook, while you drive, while you exercise. Let the patterns become part of your mind. If you enjoyed this marathon session, please subscribe to English in Fluency. Share this with a friend who is learning English. Leave a comment below telling me which pattern is your favorite, or tell me a story using one of them. I read every single one. I am Alex, and remember, English is not a test to be passed. It is a song to be sung. Keep practicing, keep listening, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.